Over the years, I've done my fair share of covers gigs, and these are the top 5 pedals that I'd recommend if you're getting into that sort of thing, or if you're already out doing covers gigs, whether it's weddings or bars or private parties or whatever. I like to have a versatile chorus pedal on the board when I'm doing covers, and it doesn't have to be boutique or some super rare vintage thing, just has to be easy to use and cover a fair bit of ground, have a fair bit of range in the controls for different settings. Mix it with a short delay and you've pretty much nailed a lot of 80s guitar sounds right there. I find the old Boss CH1 is a good all-rounder kind of workhorse chorus pedal, but you can use whatever you want. If you want more of a vintage feel, then the CE2 is cool. If you want something a bit more modern and versatile, then something like the TC Electronic Corona chorus might be better. Drop tune pedal like the Digitech Drop or the Electro-Harmonix Pitchfork are really good solutions if you find yourself having to bring second guitars to gigs that are in drop tunings just for a few songs, or if you're tuning a lot in between songs. It not only makes your life easier, but it makes your bandmates' life a bit easier as well. Those conversations where the rest of the band might want to play a song like Superstition in the original key of E flat, or Beat It by Michael Jackson is another one. A lot of Killers tracks, Hendrix tunes. A few of them always seem to crop up in covers sets. And it's so nice to just be able to say to the rest of the band, yeah, I'll do it in whatever key you want. And the pedals track really well, and they also double as a nice octave down effect. A good multi-digital delay pedal is going to be pretty essential as well. I find myself using 3 main types of delay for covers sets a lot of the time. So one is a short delay, almost like an always-on short delay, one that just makes your guitar sound a bit bigger and makes it sound a bit more complex as well. The second is having access to a longer delay, normally some sort of coloured delay, like an analog delay, a tape delay, or even a modulated analog delay, something like that, something with a bit of character to it. I like long delays like that for like interlude sections in songs or ambient sections. The third type of delay that I use is probably having some sort of access to a tap tempo feature, so I can quickly get those tight rhythmic, normally clean digital delays really quickly, and that's something I need for just the odd song in most cover sets. Multi-effects are obviously worth exploring, and yeah, of course you can use one standalone multi-effects unit to get you through a whole gig, and That's fine if that's what you're into. A nice best of both worlds option that I like is to use a small multi-effects unit within your main pedal board. It could be something as simple as this little zoom pedal that I have that comes in handy from time to time. It could be something like the TC Electronics Plethora stuff. It could be stuff by Boss or Line 6. They have their own small multi-effects units that you can integrate in a similar way. It's just a really nice way to get a lot more sounds without having to totally rely on one standalone multi-effects unit. Another setup that served me quite well in covers bands is using a high powered clean amp and then using a few amp in a box type pedals to get the sound of different amps. It's the typical pedal platform setup, and I'd argue that it's a little bit better than having one amp with channel switching for kind of three main reasons. One is that you can have as many of these amp in a box type pedals as you want on your board, and it's almost like having a multi-amp setup. You know, you can switch between them as and when you want for different sounds and different songs in the set. The second thing is that if you have a different, say, project or session coming up where you need a different style of amp, you don't need to buy a whole new amp. You know, you might need to buy a pedal, but all you need to do is switch one pedal out and you've got pretty much the sound of a whole new amp with that. And then thirdly, you always have access to a pristine clean sound by just switching the pedals off. If you're running a vintage amp at the edge of breakup, you don't really have access to that sound. It's a great sound for blues rock and stuff like that, but you don't have access to a really loud, clean sound, which you often need if you're doing any pop and funk stuff. I quite like Catlin Bread's Foundation series pedals for this, but there are loads of other brands that do it. TC Electronics, Origin Effects, Universal Audio, and loads more. Some other things that are worth mentioning, you might be using a few different guitars in a covers set. That's pretty common. Using something like this level set buffer pedal can really help just balance the signals between your lower output single coil type guitars and your higher output humbucker type guitars. It saves you having to change all the volume and gain settings on all your amps and pedals and stuff, and just keeps the input signal consistent. Really good utility pedal if you're using multiple guitars. Having some sort of small standalone multi-effects unit that you can quickly plug into the PA just to get you through a gig can be a really useful backup solution, just to keep in the gig bag in case your main rig goes down. You know, valves get worn, speakers can blow, pedal boards can get shorts in them and fail. You know, it's really good peace of mind to just have a backup solution ready to go if you need it. A noise suppressor is another pedal that's just worth throwing in the gig bag if you haven't got one on the board already, especially if you use guitars with single coil pickups. Some venues can just throw up a lot of noise problems, and you don't always have time to really get to the bottom of why it's happening. You know, sometimes it's the lighting circuit in the building, sometimes it's just the way the building's wired, and having a noise suppressor available that you can just patch in after your drive pedals normally, or in the effects loop of your amp, can just get you out of trouble and make you sound sort of stay professional and clean sounding, you know. It's nice to have one ready to go in case you need it. If you need to get some convincing acoustic guitar sounds as part of your covers set, then a setup that I used that's really seemed to impress people at gigs was not just running an acoustic simulator pedal, but running the acoustic simulator pedal into an acoustic guitar amp and then normally into the house PA from there. And it just really seemed to impress people. And it was really nice to be able to move from a convincing acoustic guitar sound straight to an electric guitar sound within the same song. So if you do, you know, a few Ed Sheeran covers or something like that, or you just want a really convincing acoustic guitar sound without having to bring another guitar with you and set that up through the PA and everything, then an acoustic guitar simulator pedal into an acoustic amp, maybe from there into the PA, is a really good setup to consider.